Hey, this is Matt once again. What about to another review? This is another paid request, this time from Edward. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, just pretty much whatever, feel free to send either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box underneath the video. So I just have a cold one here. And this is from Boys from County Hell. With that name, I don't know why, I thought it was going to be some, like, sadistic version of Dukes of Hazzard or something, but no, it's an Irish horror comedy that deals a bit with vampires. And I mean, it's nothing that made me that mad. It's 90 minutes long, but it's horror that I mean I've seen done better vampire-wise, whether it be the original Fright Night 1 and 2, or From Dusk Till Dawn, or John Carpenter's Vampires, or trying to take something like that and comedy like Shaun of the Dead did that with zombies, and I enjoyed that film. It is like horror wise, it's not a whole lot of. Well, that's not true. There's a couple of interesting ideas that seem at least a little bit unique. So there's at least that. The comedy, I didn't really laugh a whole lot. Maybe a handful, to be fair. I said, and I stopped myself because I gotta be fair. There's some interesting ideas. In particular, what the main villain, the main vampire, what it can do, how you can get infected, how you have to stop. At least there's a couple ideas I go, oh, okay, and there's some decent effects because of that. Because it takes place, it's an Irish horror comedy, and apparently Bram Stoker had pillaged the legend from them in order to make Dracula. This is what the movie says. And that long ago, there was this vampire that was buried, and these rocks have piled onto it. And maybe he had to be buried upside down. So I was saying you can't kill them. You have to bury them upside down. You have to have these rocks on them. So you have our lead guy, whose dad deals with a construction company. They have kind of a friction-filled relationship of a father-son. They argue and so forth. And the lead guy, he wants to get out of town and do something more with his life. He has, they have a couple friends. One of them gets killed by this boar, which I thought the effect of that just looked a bit clunky. It's like the way it was filmed, and I didn't know there's like CG, kind of weird. I don't know. There's something about that looked off. Did not look the best. So the friend is killed, but then sometime later comes back and there's vampires afoot. Idea is trying to be a little bit like Shaun of the Dead, but it's not nearly as funny. I have to go into spoilers to explain, so spoilers with that. The interesting idea is, because around that time also he works construction for his father, and the father tells him, pretty much you have to get rid of these rocks. Which is one of the things he keeps saying later it's his fault, but like you were told to do that, to get these rocks out of there. So it's not, if that's the case, it's not entirely your fault, you're just doing what you're told. But after that, the head vampire comes up. His friend who had died, he had turned to a vampire, and the guy's parents had locked him up. There's a third person who turns to a vampire. But again, the idea, number one, in spoilers, the typical vampire stuff doesn't hurt them if you impale them. Like there's a cool effect of someone getting impaled and the heart coming out from the end and heart coming out of the body. Nice practical effect, but that doesn't kill them. Sunlight doesn't hurt them. You literally have to bury them or nothing else entirely. Also, the lead vampire, if he's close to you, he doesn't have to bite you to get your blood. I thought this was the neatest part of the movie. The blood will literally leak out of your body. So say it's over there. It's kind of like a warning sign as well that he's close. Your nose will start bleeding. You start bleeding from your eyes, your ears, and the blood will like flow down. And then when it gathers on the ground, it will go towards to find the source, which is the main vampire. So there's shots of like old people. They're talking to each other. All of a sudden, like one's eyes is bleeding, one's nose is bleeding. Decent effect. I'm like, damn, what the hell? Like, that's intriguing. That's unique way of getting blood from a victim. That you could be sitting there and the blood's like leaving your body in that way. Now, of course, there's the idea of, well, can it go faster? Can it go slower? To be? How close does it have to be? I don't know. Because at one point, it seems like it's doing to the whole town, and the vampires like at their, I think the lead guy's mom's farmhouse, and he's still able to do it, which seems pretty fucking far away. Which makes me go, why didn't he try to do that earlier in the movie, if that's the case? But I just a couple neat ideas, but it just kind of went meh for me. I don't know. It's because the characters, the actors were there, but they didn't really grab me. I don't know. It was the thick, very thick Irish accents that at times, I will be honest, I couldn't understand what people were saying. I'm a dumb Yank. What can I say? Sometimes I couldn't understand what they were saying. Like the accents were definitely thick in the Irish way with their dialect. Again, once in a while was an interesting idea or an interesting effect, but it just wasn't really too funny of a movie. One of the few bits of chuckle I got out of was they see that their friend's a vampire locked up. Oh, there must have been some shot. No, it was no big fucking deal. What do you think? Of course it was a shot. And either there's another thing. Spoiler. Spoilers. A way to get infected is with a certain rock. If you get cut by a certain rock, you could be infected. Which I thought they were going to do more with that. Because if a vampire gets out with that rock, he could go into a town meeting, or he could go into some kind of public event. Imagine going to a public event and went, well, I don't have to bite all these people. I got these two rocks sharp, and just cut everybody, and then there's a huge clusterfuck. Why the hell that guy cut me? Cut me, bitch, cut me. And you just like, oh shit. That never really comes. The only time that comes into play is I, to protect his son who's a vampire, pretty much murdered a guy. Guy who's in the area, knocked him out, cut him with the rock, turned to a vampire. I guess either to kill the others around the area, which I'm thinking, aren't there better ways to do that? The dad's not the dad, but the friend who's a vampire. That friend's dad. His plan was a bit confusing. I know, knock this guy out, turn to a vampire, but then you don't know if you're going to be able to stop that vampire. You don't know if that vampire could very well kill you and your wife. let's say he kills everybody, then what? Or, oh, I still, again, I don't still understand fully why he did that. To protect his son, but how does that really protect his son? Because you know, they don't recognize look-wise it's not your son. Or, oh, the son was killing cattle or animals and he needed a way to hide. I mean, it just seemed like there's a lot of easier ways to do that than what that guy did. Especially when you don't know for certain how to kill this thing. Or any of these. That was a bit confusing. So that's what I mean. The film itself, I wasn't really big on. I just say I wasn't really a fan. The reason I don't tout or rant is because I'm not raging and yelling and screaming and cursing. It just, there are people who are fans of the film. I think it's like a 5.79 to be. It's not the worst thing I've witnessed. It's not the worst vampire film by far. It just, it didn't really grab me in the way of like Tremors or Shaun of the Dead or other films grab me in terms of the horror and the humor mixing together. Couple friends die. The lead guy and the dad have to deal with the vampire at the end. The only other at in spoilers is when they're battling the vampire, the dad's leg has been cut. They need a weapon, and the dad's like, "Use my leg." What? Pull it off. Use my leg. So the son pulls the leg off and of his dad and uses it as a weapon. Not long, just long enough to like just stab it with the bone portion of the leg, and then lead to burying it. And I'm like, so which it didn't. It gave me a question at the end because at the end, so the super spoilers. They bury the bad guy. It's sometime later, and you get the idea that every day or so they come by to put more stones to keep this thing buried. Do they do the same thing to the other two? The friend who got turned to a vampire, and do they? Because they don't show the lead going to the other two. They just show the lead going to that main one. I'm like, okay, you show that he's. Also makes me go, what about after you're dead? Let's say when you get to be 50, 60 years old and you know you're going to be dying. What, are you going to tell them? By the way, keep putting rocks on this place because there's a vampire in there. Oh, yeah, sure, Dad, or sure, Granddad. That's what I mean, like, I guess with the town, I guess with the town having gone through this with the blood draining from them, whereas it made me go, well, how many of them died? How many of them lived? I never really got a sense of the town. Like, the town was being drained of this blood. How many of them died? How many of them lived? You pretty much saw the one, of the friends, there was a girl who was saving her mom, and her mom got saved. But, like, the very beginning of the film is this old couple getting bled out. Did they live? Did they die? I mean, I guess the lady turns and sees a vampire and screams, ah, so I guess they're dead. I guess, now think about that answers my question. But like the other people in the town, that's really, like, you don't really get a big, or I won't say big scale, but I just, with the amount of vampire films, kind of like the amount of zombie films, there's so many of them that you can really easily take your pick. There's a lot more zombies than vampire films, to be honest, but even vampires, I mentioned some of them. I mean, you got 30 Days of Night and other vampire type of stories. I would not say this is like one of the better ones dealing with that. I guess if you see the trailer and you're really like the Irish humor, maybe just maybe it's the Ireland sense of humor I don't get. I don't know. Just I had a couple interesting ideas. Yeah, there was nothing really that tremendously I don't know why. For some reason, I like the word egregious. I've been using that more and more. Just there's not a whole lot that made me so upset and mad. It's kind of like, yeah, just wasn't really for me. I guess just really wasn't for me. Yeah, at least it's short. I mean, at least the acting was capable. The acting wasn't terrible or anything. The ending, they didn't pull some stupid out of the blue thing out of their ass. If you're a real big sucker for vampire films, or again, you like the trailer, sure, go for it. Otherwise, I would never see it again. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.